Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. It's the 20th of October, 2021. Joe and Joe Weather Show brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. I think tomorrow the Weather Service comes out with their winter forecast, so that might be the deciding factor on just how much salt you're going to need. And Omni has plenty of salt and all the snow melt products like Pelleto and Mag Ice Pellets and Flakes and just about everything else you need to help you out during the winter months. They are at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the phone number for the best prices in town. OmniTrueValue.com. And decorate for Christmas with wholesale holiday lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs. Now, Halloween is just 11 days from now, but just in case you want to do something last minute. But Christmas is going to be front and center, so they've got wreaths, Christmas balls, garland, trees, everything to make your yard look like the envy of the neighborhood. 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. And their phone number is 631-957-5106. And the website is liholidaylighting.com. It is. So there we go out. Here we come in. I like that shirt. It's fabulous. Really, it's just.
I had to look good.
It's flannel chic, Joe. I like that shirt.
But it's not flannel. It's I don't know what it is. It's I had to look somewhat presentable at the run through earlier today for the Westchester Cerebral Palsy Society. I will be there tomorrow evening, showing people, weather conditions permitting, the moon and Jupiter and Saturn through my telescope and big binoculars. And you might say I'm going to be the local entertainment at their get together, the little soiree tomorrow night in Rybrook. Really, Joe, just a stone's throw away from where you and I used to convene on a daily basis.
Yes, apparently. Well, you're doing your best to symbolize television with that test pattern look of yours. It's really fabulous.
The only thing that's missing is the Indian head up here.
Right.
Remember those test patterns with
Yes.
the Indian note?
Yeah.
I guess that's not politically correct anymore.
No.
Anyway.
No. So anyhow,
Yes.
Here we are on a Wednesday, a really nice day up and down the eastern seaboard, except for northern Maine. It was basically sunny from southern Maine all the way down to North Florida. Your highs were higher than mine. My low this morning was, I believe, I only saw, when I looked at my thermometer here, was 44 this morning. Let me just give a quick check of what the airport bottomed out at. But we made it up into the middle 70s here. That seems to be the way it works this time of year, or at least it's working that way this autumn. Long, chilly nights, and then the temperatures just jump up really quick once the sun gets up high enough in the sky, and by 10 o'clock in the morning, it's already up close to 60, and then it goes from there. So let me just see what my low was. How low did you get today, and how high did you get today?
We got to 75, and in fact, to celebrate that, I posted a picture on my Facebook page of a lovely hibiscus plant that Renata has on our back deck, and one of the leaves just opened up full. I mean, you could tell that it was really enjoying a day that is more apropos. 75 is more apropos of the 7th of June around here. So we enjoyed it. I did not get a look at our low temperature, but it really wasn't as cool last night or early this morning as it was the day before when we dipped all the way down to 42 degrees.
38 was the low this morning at Blair, and they haven't posted the high temperature yet, but at 3:15 it was 73. So I'm guessing that probably was they not only send out obs here every hour, but every time something changes, they send out an ob. So like the temperature at 12:55 was 68. At 1:15, it went to 69. So they sent out an ob at 1:15, and then at 1:35, it was still 69. In fact, it was almost the only thing is the relative humidity dropped by 2%. The dew point dropped by 1. So it's like every time the temperature changes or the dew point changes, they send out a new ob.
Well, somebody there is bored.
I guess, I suppose. So, kind of interesting today. The model runs for all of a sudden now for early next week with a trough and maybe a cutoff low. I don't know what to make of it. I think the GFS is rushing, trying to get rain in here by Sunday evening. I kind of slowed it down a little bit and kept the day side dry on Sunday, and maybe it comes in early Monday morning. I don't know. I'm kind of having a tough time getting a grasp of this.
Well, at this time of the year, now we're heading toward a transitional period, and my assumption is that the models are having a little bit of a difficult time in trying to make heads or tails out of one thing versus another, which is why sometimes we get these day-to-day changes in terms of timing, in terms of strength or whatever. But I'd say, Joe, that much of this upcoming weekend, if not all of it, should be okay. It'll be noticeably cooler, but it should be okay. Now, tomorrow, another warm day out there. I think temperatures will just about equal, maybe even go a tad above where we were today.
Well, some spots hit 80 today. A few places got to record highs.
Yeah. Well, there's no question that we could do it again tomorrow. The only thing that might preclude it is if we get a lot of clouds in here. But the clouds I think that we're going to see tomorrow, Joe, are going to be mostly high, thin clouds, which will thicken up a little bit in the after nightfall hours tomorrow night.
Yeah, but, judging from
this, see another great day tomorrow.
Yeah, judging from the satellite, I mean, before the last visible disappears. I mean, you have to go all the way back to Chicago before you see any cloud cover at all. Most of what's with the feature that's spinning around in the Western Lakes, that's going to probably go by to our north. So we might wind up with there's a little bit of cloudiness that's sort of coming over the top tonight. Through upstate New York and maybe down into the Catskills, northwest Connecticut, and points northward up into New England. But other than that, I mean, I think unless something comes over the top, I mean, it could be partly to mostly sunny, well, at least into early afternoon tomorrow, and maybe even into mid-afternoon before anything comes in. And if that's the case, what's going to stop it from going up to 80 again?
Right. Again, the worst I think we're going to see tomorrow are those lacy, high cirriform clouds during the afternoon, which may thicken up a bit after dark tomorrow night. But yeah, it looks like another. The one thing the last few days around here has been the wind. We've had some rather strong gusty winds, sometimes in excess of 20 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that the winds will be a little bit less tomorrow. They have been really blowing all over the place. A lot of the leaves on the trees are now on my lawn. So I may have to do some mulching tomorrow, Joe.
Yeah, well, I would advise it. By the way, if you look across the Gulf of Mexico and in the Caribbean, you have some little bit of disturbed weather there, but notice all the high cloud tops are blowing from west to east. So that's telling you that we've got strong upper level winds from the west and southwest, just shearing everything away. So nothing is really going to come of this. I just wanted to give it a mention because, it's a lot of disorganized showers that are going on, which is kind of typical for this time of year, particularly in the Northwest Caribbean. But with the upper air conditions the way they are, don't expect much to happen. Meanwhile, we had the first wave of clouds and rain that moved into the Pacific Northwest last night, and that moved out. Now we've got a second wave that's approaching, and you can see those clouds. They're going to get clobbered out there. WPC. And this is pretty much a repeat from yesterday, still showing from, say, draw a line south of San Francisco, go about halfway down the coast, just draw a line from there west. to the Nevada border, and then go northward from there up the coast through Washington, Joe. I mean, they're forecasting every bit of 5 to 10 inches of rain in those areas, and some of them are where they had those wildfires. We talked about that yesterday, and the Weather Service is even talking about the fact that with all the debris from the wildfires, now they're going to have flash flooding, and that's going to carry a lot of the debris downriver or wherever the rivers go. So, you know, interesting to go from burning up to now being underwater. And of course, the terrain makes a huge difference. And probably in the Sierras, in the Sierra Nevadas, probably be some sizable snowfall before this is all said and done.
Probably, and a couple of people are making an allusion to the fact that now all of a sudden the GFS is forming a hurricane. But I don't think what we're seeing for the middle of next week, Joe,
the
is
thing
a hurricane.
off the East Coast, that's a non-tropical system.
Exactly. It drops. It's a short wave that cuts across New York State, drops into the Mid-Atlantic, and then just rapidly cuts off. And yeah, this is not a tropical system.
No.
And it looks like it's just going to, wind round and round for the middle to latter stages of next week, and then kick on out. And there's an even more formative low, if you want to go, about 340 some odd hours out. They really have a tightly wound up, a tight upper low that supposedly is going to develop over the Ohio Valley by about the 3rd or 4th of November, if you want to look that far ahead. Let's put bets down right now as to whether or not that thing actually does form, and if it does form, will it be as strong or as potent as what the long-range models are suggesting right now?
Well, all right, in the meantime, before we get to what the models are doing here, let's just take a look at what's on the radar. Actually, on the radar tonight, and I talked about those clouds coming over the top, the radar is actually picking up some light showers east of 87, north of 84. I mean, some of the southern edge of this is aloft, and it looks like it's drying up as it moves eastward. But just north of Route 84, Joe, and then going northward from there through Dutchess into Columbia counties, and then get up to I-90 and Point Store, there are actually a few sprinkles that are going by. Let's all get excited over sprinkles. But other than that, the radar's quiet up and down the coast. We still have a little bit of leftover scattered shower and thunderstorm activity in the central Gulf Coast, southern Mississippi down into eastern Louisiana. Showers over the Great Lakes, some severe thunderstorms, at least one special marine warning east of Milwaukee out in Lake Michigan. And you can see the arc here that goes back into what is a upper low that is sitting in southern Minnesota. And I think this is where SPC today, they actually have no severe. So they actually had marginal risk there. They took that out, no severe in that area. So that's a plus. They do have a small area of marginal risk for tomorrow I think it was in PA, Western PA. Yeah, Western PA, Eastern Ohio. Well, it's not quite that small because it extends actually down to me. They have me in a marginal risk for severe weather down to Georgia and northeastern Alabama. We'll see if that plays. Also a small area in southwest Texas at a marginal risk, but then there's no severe weather risk going forward from there. And I guess we can just kind of I got the European up. There's a couple of things about today's European that I thought was pretty interesting. First off, as far as obviously we've got this upper trough that's coming through. This is the one from a couple of days ago now. And that pulls out. Here comes the next one. This is for this weekend. Even though you get a lead front. The lead front comes through Thursday night into Friday morning and just kind of stalls out and weakens. Then you get the second push with the upper trough. So that'll have the cooler air. And I think that comes in at some point later on Saturday. And then it lays down to the south of us. And then the eastern part of that lifts out. And then the western part of that trough, another upper low forms there near Sault Ste. Marie, drops down. Actually kind of weird. It drops down. It's south. I don't know where that actually comes from. Hold on. No, so that eastern upper low near Sault Ste. Marie on Sunday actually pulls out some of the energy from the Pacific here. So that's this this thing right there. That's translating eastward. And meanwhile, look at this animal that's dropping southward from the Gulf of Alaska to just east of the coast of Oregon. That is a bit of a powerhouse there coming into the west coast. Meanwhile, in the east, that thing drops down and cuts off near St. Louis, swings into West Virginia. Now, the Europeans got it a little more suppressed. It has it down off the North Carolina coast, and then just kind of kicks it out straight east. So it has a bit more of a suppressed look to this than the 18Z GFS. And I'm thinking mainly because of the fact that you've got this crashing trough, another crashing trough into the western part of the United States. One thing I did notice, Joe, that toward the end of the period, if this is right, Canada actually on this run looks a lot better. You're seeing, I'll be interested to see if this holds, because this is a bit of a different look. Out here in the Pacific, we've got an upper low in the Gulf of Alaska, but the trough now is closer to 160 rather than being at 140. So if the trough is at 160, that puts the ridge along or just east of 120. And we actually do have a rather decent looking ridge building up the west coast. And that'll put the trough in the east somewhere around 80, which is interestingly enough. And there's actually a bit of a colder flow by the time we get to Halloween weekend, with an upper low, an upper low starting to strengthen in Hudson Bay, and a little bit of a blocking ridge that runs up along 50 West up to the Davis Strait. So it's a bit of a colder look. It's a negative East Pacific oscillation, which is interesting. Models have been showing signs of that maybe popping up. We'll see if it holds.
This is the 12Z now, right?
This is the 12Z European, correct?
So what did the 18Z? I know that I didn't never put much credence in the 18Z.
Well, no,
I'm just curious to see.
The 18Z European doesn't go out far enough.
Oh no.
You mean the
right.
GFS?
You're right. I forgot. I thought you were looking at the GFS.
No, I'm going to switch. I'm switching to the GFS right now. The GFS is not quite in the same place, but it has a little bit of a similarity to it. Trough is more, the trough, instead of being near 160, is it's like 150-ish and swinging east. It does have ridging up the western part of the Rockies going into northwestern Canada and troughing into the eastern part of the United States. This is late in the forecast period. Of course, I didn't see what it did on the surface. I mean, I didn't look at the surface yet, but apparently it creates a hurricane in the Virgin Islands and then moves it westward along the north coast of the Dominican Republic into the Bahamas by the end of the forecast period.
Right.
Yeah, and then and then there's a deep trough at 90 with ridges on both coasts at the same time. This is November 5th.
But this is the 18Z GFS.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to put any credence in that, if you want to put any credence in anything much beyond 5 days with the GFS, go right ahead.
Yes, be our guest. The only thing I'll say is that it does at least, I'm trying to look for things. I've been focusing my attention on Canada because Canada is such a mess right now with the fact that there's southerly winds and no polar flow at all. It does change there starting maybe 8 or 9 days from now, and then kind of tries to add to that change in the long range period. So that's at least a bit of for the winter weather lovers, that's got to happen soon. I mean, we can't be sitting here a month from now looking at Canada and saying, where's the snow cover? Okay, so that needs to start happening soon. The GFS and the European are both trying to show that. And, as far as the other teleconnections are concerned, the NAO is still negative right past November 1st. It kind of comes up toward the neutral line, but almost all of the members are negative. And the PNA, the Pacific North America Index, is positive right now and is, they all, except for one or two members, they all stay positive, but not overly strong. They kind of downtrend a little bit toward, but not quite to the neutral line. So those two teleconnections are kind of holding. And now if the East Pacific oscillation, which is positive at the moment, goes negative, which is what the GFS ensembles were showing last night, thanks to flood weather, because I saw him put the chart up on Discord, on the Discord chat. Maybe, just maybe, we might be starting to see a little bit of a change going into the month of November. We'll see. And of course, if that, by the way, if that change does happen, it's probably going to do it in a dynamic way, in the sense that, we'll probably see something develop that's on the strong side somewhere to usher it all in.
So did you just answer Tom Cortino's question on the chat board? He says, Joe, do we want a negative or a positive East Pacific oscillation?
You want a negative. You want the East Pacific oscillation negative. You want the NAO negative, and you want the PNA positive. Those are the three things you want. But remember, they cover very broad geographic areas, so you could have all those teleconnections where you want them, but the trough, at the end of the day, it depends on where the ridge is and where the trough lines up. If the trough is too far west, that's an issue. If the trough is too far east, that's an issue. If the ridge is too far west, if the ridge is too far east, if the block is, if there's a block, is it over Greenland, or is it over Iceland and Scandinavia? I mean, those are the bigger questions, and you're not going to, that is, I think, that's far more important than whether it's just negative or positive.
It's always that game of splits and blocks that you're playing. And
yes,
you're right. Sometimes you look at, it's like a game of chess. Sometimes you look at the board, you say to yourself, this is great, this is perfect. Then something comes along and say, no, checkmate.
Yeah.
Even when everything looks good. And it's the same goes true with weather. Sometimes you look at the upper flow, you say, okay, this is perfect. No, sometimes not necessarily.
By the way, on this run, that's a 944 pressure that it has in the between the Bahamas and Cuba, heading for the Florida Straits. Just to put that on the record.
It's a too bad we don't have a 3 kilometer NAM that goes out 300 plus hours.
Oh, so
I can only imagine what the 3 kilometer NAM would have given in terms of pressure.
An 875.
Right, exactly.
Right, so tomorrow it's a west-southwest wind, so, and there won't be any sea breeze issues, so everybody's going to warm up well into the 70s and maybe even in the lower 80s. Here comes the front, which basically falls apart by the time it reaches the coast Friday. And you'll notice by the isobars, it just kind of hangs there. There's not much weather with it. It just sort of hangs there. The actual real front is back up in the northern lakes, and it's behind this that you get some cooler air. Meanwhile, take a look out in the west, and you got another big round of very heavy precip that moves in. And as we head through Saturday, that upper trough in the east begins to move eastward. It looks like, we'll cool off a little bit on Friday and then cool off a little bit more on Saturday. And then Sunday, I think it doesn't get out of the 50s in most places, and the same holds for Monday. The question is, do we believe this Pacific energy that gets pushed out east by Sunday morning? There's rain in southern Indiana, southern Illinois. I'm going to switch to the radar just because it's a fairer picture. We're looking at measurable precip here. Let me switch to the other one. Okay, so by Sunday morning, the models have, Joe, they got rain. The GFS has rain, central Kentucky, southern Indiana, central Illinois. By Sunday night at 0Z, all of a sudden it's got rain to the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border. I don't know. I just seem to think that that's just a little bit fast.
Yeah.
It just shoots it up like a rocket ship.
I'm looking at the position of the polar vortex, and it seems to me from the I'm looking now at the 10 millimar temperature on the GFS. Which is centered on the North Polar region, and it looks like, Joe, the vortex looks like it's trying to make a move after about next Wednesday.
Yes.
So, and a rapid move, I might add. So much so that it looks like by the time we get to, not this weekend, but well, let me see. I'm just looking here. Halloween. Yeah, right. As we get into Halloween and then thereafter, it looks like all of a sudden we have a very dynamic, a very distinct pattern change, at least over Alaska and Western Canada as we move into the first week of November. So if we do see any kind of changes in Canada, we may actually see the ridge break down and the bottom falling out, so to speak, with a big change, almost like a digging trough, a diffluent type of digging trough into Alaska and Western Canada by early November. So maybe, just maybe, we might see some signals of colder weather invading Canada, Western Canada, by early November. But in the same token, here in the eastern part of North America, it looks like it still could remain rather mild right on into early November. The changes would be well to our west and north, not necessarily here in our neck of the woods.
Yeah, I just put it up on the screen. I have noticed the last couple of days the pivoting of the vortex along the north coast of Siberia there, that, there's an arm that comes around. And yeah, look at that. That drops that trough down into the western part of the United States. Now, the thing is, this could be all fine and dandy. The question is whether that couples down to the lower levels of the atmosphere and creates change. So if we're looking at something happening in the stratosphere toward the end of the month, then you're probably you got to give it another 2 weeks before it translates down, into the lower part of the atmosphere. But it is something here that we're seeing this. It just kind of, if you run it back on the loop from the beginning, it almost like it looks like an egg being turned on its side, and then it just
Right.
rotates around. Very interesting that it looks this way. Now, I wonder could we get that vortex, because sometimes it likes to do that, and then as we get a few days by and we look at it again, you'll see the upper low gets to this point and then it starts migrating back in the other direction. So, but it'd be interesting to see if you get the whole vortex to just come down. And by the way, it does speak to the weak, Dr. Judah Cohen and a few others who watch this stuff have been talking about the fact that the polar vortex in the stratosphere is weaker than it usually is at this time. So and that, translated again, if it couples down to the surface, it could translate into a very blocky pattern. We don't know where the blocks will be, but it would translate into a very blocky pattern. By the way, I read today that for the first time in recorded history, Joe, there's a weather station. I don't remember the name of the weather the place. It's the highest peak in Greenland, and for the first time in recorded history, they recorded rain there.
No, my goodness, because that's one place that's always snowy.
Right.
That's why I guess it. So rain in Greenland this late in the season
at this peak. At this peak, I don't know. No, it didn't happen. I don't think it happened now. I think it happened sometime in late August. And they've never recorded rain at this mountain peak ever. This was the first time.
Wow, that is amazing. That's something you don't see every day in Greenland. And as you just mentioned, it's the first time they've ever seen it at that summit, that peak. How high is it? Did they give it to you in meters?
I got to find the tweet. I don't think it said how high it is, but I have to go back and find the tweet. It's on my feed someplace. Okay, so we'll get rid of the Category 4 hurricane in the Bahamas there on the GFS, and I'm running the upper air backwards so you can take a look at what's happening with this, the GFS with this cutoff. It actually, on the GFS, it actually forms up in northern Wisconsin and then drives southeastward into West Virginia and Virginia. The cutoff is right off the New Jersey coast and just sits there. And then there's another cutoff that dropped from the western stuff. Another cutoff drops down into West Texas. I mean, this is blocky. So you got this is the negative NAO doing its thing if it's real. And of course, that's eventually gets kicked out because there's a stronger trough in the northern stream that comes down and gets rid of it by Halloween weekend, and then that strengthens as it goes by. And then there's yet another upper trough that comes in after that. Then you got the Category 4 hurricane, and, and then you'd have a deep trough coming into the plains and into the Mississippi Valley by the end of the forecast period. So there you go.
Maybe we'll have a blizzard by Thanksgiving.
Well, I would just say this. It's encouraging to me to see the models doing what they're doing today on a couple of runs where they're just kind of trying to start moving chess pieces around and especially up in, you're pointing out at that 10 millibar level, that could be an important development in the longer term, assuming that it goes from where it is now and does, maybe moves to Canada somewhere. Which would be which would be a big change. So not much with that front weather-wise. I'm thinking the GFS is rushing in this precip for Sunday. So we'll just, I'll hold it off and keep the day side dry. And then, of course, you've got this low that forms. Again, the blocky nature takes the upper low and surface low to southern Indiana off the mid-Atlantic coast, and then it just spins it around. This would be a nice little nor'easter, though, if it does verify. I'm not saying it is. I mean, I'm just thinking that, looking at the isobars and how tight they are around that low, the gradient's fairly tight there. So it might be, might have some gales along the coast if that winds up being correct. If. And that's a big if.
We have a full moon. We have a full moon tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight is the so-called Hunters.
It's the Hunters
full moon tonight.
Yeah.
The Hunter's moon, yes.
And after that gets kicked out with another trough coming into the east, little snow up in northern New England maybe, and then it's dry. There's the hurricane. Oh, good Lord. Well, you know what? Every 3 or 4 runs, the GFS has to do that. I don't know why, but it just seems to have to do that. So anyway, there's not a whole lot else going on. There really is nothing else in the tropics too. Johnny Quest said the mountain is called Mount Gunbjorn, Gunn Bjorn, Bjorn, 3,694 meters or 12,119 feet above sea level.
And they had rain at that altitude.
And they had rain. For the first time in recorded weather history.
There you go.
All right, let's do a little Briller Jeopardy and see what. By the way, Izzy D hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Izzy. Most welcome for. I'm sorry, I'm not even speaking correctly. Thank you, Izzy, for hitting super chat tonight. It is most appreciated. Whoops. There you go. I'm trigger happy.
Well, I think
You have it.
I think I have the. I have it, and this is another edition of one of Briller Jeopardy's toughest categories. Really, Scott? This is the first time I'm looking at this. He sent it last night to me at 8:39 p.m., but I really didn't get a chance to look at it until literally right now. Here you go, Joe. Replace each capital letter to complete thought for Mr. Chiaffi. This one with a twist. Mr. Rayo, will you supply with a hint if you need it? What am I looking at here? Oh. Well, it's like an.
All right. Well, you figure that out. Somebody wants to look at Steve Lapointe hitting super chat tonight. Thank you, Stephen. And someone is asking about Alaska. So let's see what I can do. Let's see if I can bring up a satellite view of Alaska. Do you want all of Alaska? Let's do all of Alaska because you could do Central Alaska, Southeastern Alaska. So we'll do all of Alaska. So let's get a shot of.
Oh, I think I understand what this is all about now. Okay.
All right. So I'm going to show. I'm showing Alaska here on the satellite. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of clouds up there. I can't distinguish with it's hard for me to tell what's snow cover. I mean, I think that's all, some of this is snow cover, but the brighter white cloud tops, obviously those are clouds. And they run up all of northwest Canada. And by the way, you could see the upper low in the Gulf of Alaska. That shows up really well here, east of the northernmost Aleutians. It's right there, just off the coast. It's kind of edging northward at the moment. And then there's more energy to the west of the Aleutians. So you can see those clouds rolling in from there. And I could just probably
Joe,
what?
Joe,
What?
you're not
No
you're not
maps?
showing any maps.
Whoops. Sorry. Thank you for telling me. All right, hang on a second. Let's go back to that loop. There you go. So now you can see the swirl that's off the north and the south coast of Alaska there, coming right toward the coast. It's to the east of the northernmost Aleutians, and then there's that energy that's to the west of there. They see those clouds are streaming eastward to the southern end of the Aleutians, and clouds up in western Canada that are pulling northward. And with respect to, let's go to weather.gov, see what they got. I don't think they had anything in terms of watches and warnings up there, but let me take a look. Weather.gov. Okay. And actually, they do have, there's no land warnings, but they do have a whole bunch of what looks like a bunch of wind warnings. I think they got storm warnings up there. Oh, I'm sorry, hurricane force. See, now, why did they do this on this? You know, they got this crazy map that it defaults to. Their homepage comes up and it disappears, and you get this crazy map. I would like to just see, you know, well, here's a quick zoom. All right, so yeah, okay, so here we go. So you got actually hurricane force wind warnings up for the coastal waters west of the Aleutians for Thursday night. And that's with that next round of energy. You got gales for Ketchikan, I know how to pronounce. I really don't know how, and Juneau, but I really don't. Oh, Skagway, Yakutat, and what is that? Sika? Oh, Silka? Silka?
And that's it.
Or
I think
Sitka?
Sitka.
Sitka. Okay.
Sitka.
I don't have my right glasses on, and it looks like we also have wind advisories up for places southeast of Fairbanks. And then on the north slope, I won't even attempt to pronounce this. On the north slope, we have heavy freezing spray warning in effect through late this afternoon, Joe. Heavy freezing spray. This is exciting. Where's Alfred Phillips? He could probably tell us more about that because he's up in Wainwright, Alaska, but he's not on the board tonight. So if you watch the show on the repeat, Alfred, big hellos from Joe and I. Okay, let's go to Briller Jeopardy.
All right, I understand now what it is. And you want to take a pad and a pencil, Joe, and just write this down.
All right.
It may become clearer to you.
I have said pad.
So now what you have to figure out,
and I have my pen. Go ahead.
What you have to figure out is what each letter stands for. We have a 32, and then we have PAT. So what does the PAT stand for after 32?
Oh.
And I might add, the number in this case 32 is significant enough so that maybe you might be able to figure it out.
Right. Okay. Well, so 32 is the freezing point, but I think that's too obvious. I mean, you're supposed to have. I only have 28 of them, but it's because my wisdom teeth are gone. But you have 32 teeth. So,
right. So what could possibly PAT stand for?
Well, does T stand for teeth?
Yes.
Okay, so teeth. The P and the A, I have no idea.
See, this is not like Briller Jeopardy. This is more like Briller Wheel of Fortune.
Right.
You're trying to figure out
how many letters? How many blank letters am I looking at?
two, P and A.
No, I know, but it's like, are those two words? Or, one starts with the letter P and one starts
Right.
with the letter A? So how many
Correct.
letters, how many letters for the word that's with the letter P?
You don't need to know that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't think you need. You just simply have to guess what the P stands for.
That's what a guy usually says to his wife. Oh, you don't need to know that. I have no idea. I don't know. I have
30,
no idea.
32 permanent
permanent
adult teeth.
Gotcha.
See?
Gotcha.
See? There you go.
All right. Okay.
That's why I had a feeling. This might be a little bit confusing and
all right,
it's a
little more challenging. So let's go to the next one.
All right. 7C in NR. Or in AR.
Okay. So that would be 7. Oh, that's I'm going to say 7 cats in a river.
No. Here's your clue, Joe. Roy G. Biv.
Roy G. Biv. Oh,
yes.
RGB. Yes, RGB. 7 colors in a rainbow.
There you go. Whoa, that is it. That's number 2.
Okay.
Here's number 3. 12N on a C.
12N on a C. 12. 12. All right, wait. Okay, so you're playing. 12. 12 numbers on a clock.
There you go. There you are. On an episode of MASH, BJ, to relax the surgeons while they're operating, Radar plays that song, that tune, over the loudspeaker.
Right.
And BJ says to everybody in the operating room, "Hey, Hawk, musical clock." Wrong. That's not the name of the song.
No,
the name of the song is syncopated clock.
Yes.
And he mentions the fact that he used to hear that when he was watching The Late Show. And I've often wondered about that. I mean, here in New York, for many years, that was the music for the opening of The Late Show. But I'm saying, number one, was The Late Show around in 1951? Number two, BJ wasn't coming from New York. He was living in and around San Francisco. Anyway.
Well, they make reference. I mean, various shows at the time. Well, the Honeymooners in one episode, Norton mentions the Late Show. So
right,
that must have
been.
That
was 1955.
Right, but still, it probably was around in 1951.
All right. So here's number 4. Here we go. 8H in a RD. Excuse me. 8H in a RWD. 8H in an RWD.
Oh God.
I'll give you a hint, Joe. And you used to tell me this every night when we used to go walking out to the garage.
Yes.
You used to say
worst, right? Another 8 hours of your life that you'll never get back. Right. So 8 hours in a regular work day.
There you go. There you are. And that was absolutely true, ladies and gentlemen. Every night.
I would another 8
walk
hours
out to the garage.
And now another 8 hours of your life that you'll never get back. And the only other time that I've experienced, I've used that line a couple of other times. Once when I went to see Cats, which were the worst. I mean, right? That was the worst 8 hours of my life, and that was just the first act. Okay. Those are out. You'll never get those back. I know.
Yes.
Cats to me was just No, I'm sorry. No, it was torture. It was absolute torture. And I went, Joe. It was a time. This was back in the '90s. I was working the morning shift at News 12, and you know how zombie you would get when you work those hours, where you start falling
Right.
asleep standing up at about 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Well, try doing that. Try sitting through a Broadway show in darkness. I mean, in complete darkness with this cat crap going on, and I mean, it was torture. I mean, I just couldn't keep myself awake. Oh, it's horrible. I don't want to ever relive. That's a horrific experience. No one should go through what I went through. So don't go see Cats.
Number 5.
Okay.
6Z in an M.
6Z in an M. Uh. Uh. Hmm. 6 zebras in a microwave? No, that's not it. 6Z in an M. Z. Six.
Z.
Six as in Z. Z as in zebra.
Right.
Okay, I need help.
Maybe this will help you. And this is like a corollary to this. 6Z in an M or 12Z in a T. That's my
Well, can I ask this question? Is
my
there an 18Z and a 0Z? No.
No.
All right, so we're
No.
not in the weather world. 6Z in an M, 12Z in a T. 6 zeros in a million, 12 zeros in a trillion.
There you go. You got it.
Oh, that's
6 Z's in a million.
12.
How do you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started thinking about what words would, what are the common words with Z, and the only thing I could think of was zebra and zero. So
Right.
that came to me. Is that the last of it?
No, this one you will never ever get.
Okay.
But I will give it to you. Give it to you here. It's MB will be IS in next YWO.
Wait.
Scott,
And
you're
hold
really
on.
pushing the envelope here.
MB will, then the
Right.
words will be.
Will be.
Yes. Go ahead.
IS in next YWO.
YWO. MB will be IS in next YWO. MB. Milton Bradley will be in sync next year without me. All right, I need a clue.
I have absolutely no way that I could give you any.
All right, is the
kind of a
Y
clue,
is the Y
except
is the Y for year?
it's plural. Yes.
Years?
Yes.
Oh, major blizzard will be I and then S. Is it major blizzard?
No.
No. Okay, so next year's WB. MB will be IS in next year's WB. MB will be IS.
WO.
WO. Well, maybe next year's WO.
So what's coming next year?
Next year's 2022. I don't know anything.
It's an event. It's an event that happens every 4 years.
Oh, You oh, is it like is it like when Lucy knew the answers to the quiz show and the answer to the question was the sap runs every 2 years?
The sap runs every
Every
two
2 years.
years.
I have no idea. Next year's WO. What happens next year? Is it, it's a congressional election. I mean, I know that. 22. What's happening in 22? It's not a leap year.
I'm thinking about it myself. I'm trying. Let me give you another hint. Back in the day, the event in the early part of the year or the coldest part of the year also happened in the same year in the summer.
Say that again. The what?
We now have these events coming every 2 years, but there was a time when we had these events happening in the same year, one in the winter, one in the summer.
And now it used to happen twice a year. Now it only happens once a year.
Correct.
I have no clue.
All right. This is one, as I said, you would never get. The answer is MB Mother Briller.
Oh,
will be
in the Winter Olympics next year. Yes.
Right, but what is IS?
Will be ice skating.
Correct.
We can
Mother
only
Briller
hope.
will be.
We can only hope so she could whoop the rear ends of all the competition. So we need to get
ice skating in next year's Winter Olympics.
Okay.
There you go.
Right, that's right. The Winter Olympics are next year. I actually like watching the Winter Olympics more than I do like watching the summer ones. But I didn't watch the summer ones at all this time around. They just
well, the summer the ones we had this year were supposed to be 2020.
Right.
And now 2 years after that, we get the Winter Olympics in 2022. Except last year.
Right.
Except this year we had it this year instead of last year.
Right. Because this week was next week, last week.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Gotcha.
But there was a time back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s where both Olympics were in the same year, which was a lot less confusing than what we just are looking at now. So
okay. All right. So okay. So no show tomorrow because you got stuff to do. So I'll tell you what. Why don't we see about Friday? Unless you have something planned, because I don't.
Where am I going, Joe?
Okay,
I'm like you. I'm retired.
All right. So why don't we no show tomorrow? If the weather doesn't look overly eventful, we'll not come back till Sunday. If it looks like like the GFS does today for next week, then maybe we'll come on Friday night instead. Okay, so I think that's pretty fair. So thanks everybody for being here tonight. The Joe and Joe Weather Show, as it is every single night, is brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, New York. Their phone number is 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. Omni True Value Hardware, a mile away at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York, 631-756-1125, the phone number there, and the website is omnitruevalue.com. So we have said we're saying goodbye. And Izzy D, thank you for hitting Super Chat tonight. The chairman also hitting Super Chat. Whoops, I wasn't supposed to do that. Hang on. Let me get Joe back. This is what happens when I start playing with buttons. Here we go. There we are.
It's like what I said, Joe. Where are we going? Where are you going? Where am I going? Where do you think I'm going? Antarctica?
Well, you're as subtle as a garlic sandwich, aren't you? Yes. All right. Well, we'll see everybody maybe Friday, for sure on Sunday. Nighty night, all.
Bye.
Oh, and Steve Lapointe hit Super Chat too. I forgot. Thank you, Steve. Good night.
Thanks, Steve. Good night.